Okay. Hello and welcome, everybody. Jay Fazette here, and we are with, what did you call us, Virginia Mooskies? You called us?
Jay and the Blondies.
That actually made me genuinely laugh.
You snort laughed. I got you on that one.
You did. And honest to God, I could use a snort laugh today, given the entertainment with my kids. So thank you. That was a marvelous way to start. For those of you at home watching, this is the Mastermind to Millions Q&A panel, and I am blessed to have a handful of what I deem to be dear friends, brilliant human beings, mastermind leaders, contributors of epic proportions in their life, in their world, in their communities, and we get to hang out, have some wine, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about masterminds, and enjoy ourselves for a little bit of time. And by the way, if you are watching, feel free to do a couple of things. Number one, click on the little name Jay Fazette right above the broadcast window, because we share these things all over God's green earth. And when you do that, then you can come over here and you can actually ask questions. We will answer with the straight goods and do our very best to serve and support in answering any of the questions that you have about masterminds. Now, we've had some pre-questions sent in. I have a particular agenda for our time together. And the truth of the matter is that every single person here is very quiet, shy, and reserved. So I also brought my alarm clock to ensure that when I ask questions, we're not here till, I was going to say Thursday, but today's Wednesday. I don't even know what freaking day it is. That's how busy
I feel like we should just break into song and go from there.
Might not be a bad idea. Well, nobody wants to hear me sing. That will end the viewers in one hell of a hurry. Robin could, but not I. So let's start with a brief introduction. And if I could ask each of you to give our listeners, and I know you all know each other, but give our listeners like the 1 minute, and I really will time, a 1 minute version of who you are, who you serve, and a little bit about your mastermind history. So who you are, who you serve, a little bit about your mastermind history. Who wants to go first, brave ones?
I'll fire away.
That'd be awesome. Now, Jay, just so you know, what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and figure out how to have you.
Oh, like speaker view?
Yeah, but we'll just keep playing for a moment or two. You keep talking, and I'll
talk. You make me look pretty.
I'm trying.
Everyone, my name is Jay Rook. And I've had a business coaching and personal development practice for about the last 8 years, and typically working with entrepreneurs that were segueing from being an employee to launching their first business. And it was a super fun ride. I recently just took a job with a corporation, but my mastermind experience was hands down the most meaningful thing that I did during my coaching practice years, as far as achieving a level of real satisfaction and passion with my work. Absolute blast. I've run, I think, 4 now in different iterations, and each time it just gets better because we get better at facilitating it and running the process and creating and crafting that experience.
I love that. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Who else wants to jump on in? Oh, give me a break. I have been in rooms with all 4 of you, and I can't get a word in edgewise, and it's like,
I'll go. So my background is in running and operating a big music and dance studio, and I did that for over 20 years. And I came into Masterminds from coaching other music and dance studio owners. I'll talk more about that later. So primarily now I serve music and dance studio owners still, but I also work with a wide variety of entrepreneurs who have something important to complete and need me to hold their hand crossing the finish line. I also work with parents, and I teach them how to get their kids to become quit-proof for life. So that's what I do. And I've got a lot to say about the masterminds because I love them.
Yes. Well, and just on that note, in terms of quit-proof, I may fly you to Calgary if you would like to come here because of my teenage entertainment I had today. But we'll have that for another conversation and more wine, most likely.
Okay.
All right. The referral diva or Krista? Who's up next?
Oh, I'll go. So
Awesome.
I'm Virginia Muskis. I'm the referral diva. I've had a referral marketing coaching practice for the last decade. I work with six-figure solopreneurs to help them scale their business so they have the money they need to do what matters and the time to actually enjoy it. And my experience with Masterminds has been fabulous. I love the facilitation. My husband and I own two BNI franchises and facilitates 60 or so chapters. And we have a huge team, and I've really enjoyed the facilitation, the masterminding. And then I also run a mastermind called the Referral Alliance, where we are solving, tried and true referral problems. And that has just been a blast. I've really enjoyed it, and I've made some good money at it. And I think it's one of the most leveraged ways to make a difference.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Krista.
All right. I'm Krista Inikovsky, teen confidence coach. And I was first introduced to Masterminds by Jay as I jumped into one of his mastermind experiences. And it was so impactful to me. I just completely fell in love with the process. It was hands down just way better than anything I'd ever done, from networking to group coaching, anything else. And so learned everything I could about it, immediately started leading and facilitating some masterminds that were really for professionals that were looking to up level or make a change in their career and in their life. And it's been some of the best people that I've been able to gather and meet and participate and engage with. And I love the process of facilitating. I love being a part of Mastermind. And it's just been a really great part of my life, and can't wait to continue leading more and seeing where all this goes.
Awesome. And I know you have a new one that is in the birthing process, which we will talk a bunch about those things as we go through tonight. All right. The referral diva here. I'll actually put it up here. Charisse says the referral diva has mad skills and turns networking into a science. Not bad. Not bad.
Thank you, Charisse. And you know what? Charisse would know.
Yeah, she would.
She's in the same industry, so that's awesome.
That is fabulous. Okay, so here's the deal, gang. A couple of things. I want to just start with. The big picture, and you've all sort of alluded to it a little bit, but I want to talk about launching a mastermind. And for those of you who are just joining us, I'm just going to restate again real quick that if you want to come here so you can actually chat with us, ask questions, we will answer and respond. We're going to be here for a while, enjoying each other and a little wine and one of our favorite topics in the universe, which is masterminds. But if you want to talk to us, click on either the video or the name Jay Fazette just above the video screen. It'll take you over to the chat window. When you're at the chat window, you can communicate with us. Now, a couple of things about this is that this Q&A actually became clear to me that I wanted to do it when we were doing what we would call our little webinar launch that is designed to both educate people in terms of the Mastermind Mentors Manual we give away the Fill Your Mastermind with Ease Manual, and we invite people to participate in the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp. Now, everyone here has done the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp. Everyone here has gone through the Mastermind to Millions Live process. We have all both built masterminds, led masterminds, participated in masterminds, and you can ask us, quite frankly, anything your little heart desires, and we will give you the straight goods, okay? And one of the things that I want everyone here is that if you were watching this, you were likely considering launching your own mastermind, or perhaps relaunching or launching a new mastermind. And we would love to support you with that process by having you participate in the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp. Now, I'll talk more about that. I'll put the link in the chat and all those sorts of things. But while we're going through that, what I want to do is I want to ask each of you what has been, in terms of getting up and running with masterminds. I'm going to start with, a more difficult question. What has been the most challenging part of getting your own mastermind up and running? Virginia, you're up first.
I think one of the most challenging parts of this is that in the early stages of doing this, you've got to have built up a pretty significant network of relationship, because you've got to have people to call and invite. And if you don't have people to call and invite, you need to have people to call to ask them who you can invite. So I think it is the initial process, kind of getting over that initial hump of who should I call once I've gotten my topic. And for me, the topic, it was pretty obvious what it was going to be. So that there wasn't much of a struggle of that first step, but deciding who was going to do it and then really explaining to them why they should pay money was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to take notes, by the way, as you guys make comments, because I want to make sure that sort of no stone goes unturned. But who would love to add to that? Because, and by the way, I'm leading with this question because I think, how do I put this? I'm trying to be as straight as I can about this. I think that most people overestimate their influence. Which goes back to what Virginia was saying. It's like, oh, I'm going to start a mastermind and the whole wide world's going to come and kiss my ass and throw money at me. And it's like, that's not generally how it goes unless you're a New York Times bestselling list author or unless you got some notoriety of pretty significant means in some way, shape, or form. So anyone else want to add to that? What was the most challenging part in getting it going? Yes, Robin, please.
I'll add to that because I was in a little bit of a different situation when I launched my first one. I looked it up 5 years ago. This last month. And I was in a community of music teachers all teaching the same method. And I was one of the directors of the company and I was really well known and I'd done tons of coaching and training. So for me, it wasn't who should I ask to be in it and who should I invite to what we call a WCC, but it really had to do with the vetting process because I was in a situation where they all knew me and they all wanted to participate or thought they did. And then I literally had to say no to some people. And that was the hardest part, was getting the right people in and going through the vetting process. And I don't think the first year I really quite understood what it would mean to, if I said yes to the wrong person. And I did, right? I said yes to a couple of people that weren't so great. And so I had situations that I've never encountered since. But so I think, so you have let's say you have a bunch of people, then how do you vet and how do you hold the line so that you're having a really quality experience, not just, oh, they all wanted to be here. No, you can't do that.
Which happens when you have a smaller network too, right? Because you're like, I just need butts in the seat, right? And you can end up with butts in the seat.
Not the right
butts. And honest to goodness, even one, and in this particular conversation, this is being broadcast on Facebook and all those sort of things, but I'm giving you the straight goods. But one deadhead, and that is frankly what I call them, one deadhead ruins an otherwise brilliant group of human beings. And I think I think that's a mistake that all of us have to make at least once to make sure it's like, oh dear God, not again.
and then they're always the one that talks the most. And you're just like, you're ruining this even faster. Please stop. Jay, one that I'll throw out would be just straight up fear. And I think what was interesting is, and you know this in some of the mastermind trainings, how many people spend so much time prepping and strategizing what they're going to do and then just never launch it. And I remember, being super anxious around sending out that initial invite to people. And because the reality was, because I had never run one before, I didn't know how awesome it was going to be. So I didn't have that confidence in my back pocket of, hey, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And so that fear component. So I'd say for anyone that's considering launching the mastermind, 100% be strategic before you do it, and do a beta of 3 months or something like that and just launch something and get it going, because it's really easy to spend forever and then just never launch it.
Yeah. Let me jump on the beta piece before you answer, Krista. So one of the, a beta mastermind is part of our vernacular in terms of what it means to actually get a mastermind up and running. And most of the time, particularly if you're new at this, we recommend figuring out, what your mastermind is going to be about, what your promise is, going to your phone and finding the 8 to 12 people that you think are the perfect match. And you call them and you just simply do this crazy thing called tell them the truth, which is I'm starting something new. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I'm pretty excited, but I think it's going to be awesome. You and a handful of other people who I know, like, trust, and think will be amazing are in it. and I'm going to offer it to you as a discount. And the condition is you full on participate. You give me feedback, and when the 3 months is up, if it actually worked for you and it's for you, I'm going to ask you to pony up and pay and participate for the next 12 months. And with that process, we have launched more masterminds. You know what I wish I had done 5 years ago when I started this program? I wish I had kept a log of all of the masterminds that got launched. Because I mean, I still get notes from Jay. So I'm in Jay's mastermind, and a member of that mastermind who I'd never met before in my life, Kate. She and I had coffee, and I didn't know this. She said, "You know what? I should give you credit because I launched my mastermind because of that manual you sent out about 5 years ago." And it was like, it just seems so simple and it just seems so clear, so I just did it. So it's like, and there's literally thousands of masterminds I didn't even know we launched, for crying out loud. Anyway, the beta process is something. If you're wondering about this, that's the route to go, exactly as Jay had said. Krista.
Oh, that's what I did.
Yep.
I wasn't even necessarily, I don't know that I made a huge announcement that it was beta. I just said, this is my mastermind. This is how long it is. And it was because I wasn't quite sure how long I could keep the momentum up. Mm-hmm. Like I knew the process, but I was like, oh, what if I get the wrong people in? What if it doesn't quite go as planned? How do I, it was a bit of my own, it was honestly some of my own fear of what if I don't quite nail it, and ended up going great. I had great people. We had great momentum, but it felt something that I could do. I could manage and felt confident in, and that's what allowed me to get my mastermind up and running so fast instead of overthinking it and trying to turn it into something that was way too big. And so do the beta route. It definitely, it's a great way to get going and without feeling like you've taken on too much or you have too much responsibility. And then if you need to change it or tweak it, you have the ability to do that with a new group. And you're like, okay, not going to have you back again. And I'm going to change my message a little bit. Like whatever you need to do, feels like you can do that.
Share with people how long it took, because you were incredibly fast in terms of getting your mastermind up and running. From it's like, hey, I think I want to like, you got people sitting in the room and you're doing it.
Yeah, it was probably not even 60 days. Mm-hmm. It literally was less than 2 months. It just clicked with me. Mm-hmm. The whole thing made so much sense, and I loved what the format is and how different it is from a traditional networking or anything else that I had done. And so because it just clicked so well, I was just really fired up about offering that opportunity to other people and getting them in. And I just really led with my enthusiasm. And I even led with the fact that it was a mastermind. Sometimes it's more about the positioning of what you're offering. It happens to be a mastermind, but I was all just like, it's a mastermind. Come listen what it is. And if you haven't heard of one, and if you heard the name, but it's actually something different, which happens a lot. That's another topic we can get into, that the word mastermind is now kind of used in a lot of different ways. It's not an actual proper mastermind. So I was like, right, this is what it is. This is what it should look like. This is what you're going to get out of it. And if it's not that, it's not a mastermind.
But it's funny because that's actually my next question here. So thank you, Krista, and I appreciate that. So let's actually do that. So from your perspective, and in fact, Glory, by the way, I just super excited to be joining you in the Mastermind Millions program. That's going to be awesome. So I love hanging out with you, Glory. So that's going to be outstanding. And Susan has actually made a comment here that I think speaks to exactly what we're talking about. If I had a dime for all the masterminds I did and breaking through the fear. Now, I'm not sure that all of the things that were called masterminds actually work. So here's my question to the four of you. What is a mastermind? What isn't a mastermind? How do you discern the difference when people are going, it's like, what do you mean?
so feels like a quiz, Jay. It's like, do you remember the manual? Do you remember the definition on page 14?
I am keeping track of your
I see.
And by the way, if you get it wrong and you're suddenly removed from the panel, it was probably just like StreamYard acting up. That was Michelle. That was Michelle, not me. Just to be clear.
Man, I'm getting you on the bad girls, and we're gonna have it out, girly. All right. Let me just drink.
I'll talk about that for a minute because to me, it's really distinctive. And when I started doing it with all of the music studio owners, they'd never heard of Masterminds 5 years ago. That wasn't anything in their wheelhouse. They didn't know what it was. And so I got a lot of questions like, well, is this group coaching? Are you coaching me? Is it a Q&A? And to me, that's one of the biggest distinctions. There are a few, but one is it's not group coaching. We're not going to get on the phone for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is and have you rapid fire questions at me. And we're not doing that. And so when I look at my masterminds, the whole point is really to provide a community within where support happens, where brainstorming happens. I do hot seats, just like your mastermind program. Everything that you do, I do it just like you do it. So I do a 2-word check-in, a 2-minute checkup, and then we have people prepared to be on the hot seat where they come with a goal or issue, blocks and barriers, the kind of outcome and the support they want. And that's what we do. And it's facilitated, so it's on point, and it doesn't end up being networking, and it's not a gripe fest. We're coming with an intention, and we're going to complete that today. And everyone's going to feel supported, and everyone's going to have a chance to share and weigh in on the issues that come up. And then the final thing is what resonated for you in your business, so that it's an application at the end too. It's not just a bunch of wild, crazy, wonderful thoughts and no, like, what's in it for me? It's no, take this hot seat and I want you to take a minute, write down what resonated for you in your business. So everyone walks away with new ideas, new energy, and the support of the group. So those are the things to me that make the mastermind an amazing thing. And from the beginning, all of my masterminds I've done, people have committed to an entire year. I never did a beta. I threw them into 12 months. And every mastermind that I've done, with the exception of one, but everything else has been a 12-month commitment. And so that's a distinction for me too. 12 months, you become a family. You really do. And the support this year has been off the hook because of the lockdowns. I'm pretty steady Eddie about my attitude and my life and stuff that goes on. And so I've just gotten all this feedback from people saying, I don't know what I would have done without this group. Yeah. So to me, that's completely different than group coaching or another definition of mastermind. So that's what I say.
Yeah, and I would just tie that into exactly what Susan just typed. Yes, the difference between a mastermind and a group program, being in so many group programs disguised as a mastermind, and I'm not sure, in my experience, I don't think I've been in ones disguised as mastermind. I've been in ones that were marketed as mastermind because that sounded like a good word, or it sounded like it was going to be more. But the truth of the matter is that it was just a premium group coaching program. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I've been in a bunch of premium group coaching programs that I love, but let's not bullshit one another about it being a mastermind. Anything else anyone wants to?
People in the room, it's not a mastermind.
Say that again.
If there's 50 people in the room and the facilitator is doing most of the talking, it's not a mastermind.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
I also think that the really key component here, if you want to keep your mastermind pure, and that's what you're really looking for, is something that's in the pure sense of that, is the idea that it really is about getting unstuck. It's really about dealing with the bottlenecks in your life. It's really dealing with the boulders and the barriers to achieving what you really want to accomplish. And it's far less kind of skill-based or tactical, right? It's much more strategic, and it's much more about the people in the room bringing their experience to bear rather than the facilitator. And the facilitator's job is really to keep everyone exactly focused on how do we solve the problem, what resources do we bring to bear on the problem, and how do we contribute one to another in order for the entire group to, in the end, accomplish something that everyone has agreed to accomplish from the get-go. And I think that's the biggest difference, is it is about the members contributing to the members, not the facilitator pontificating. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult for me, to be honest with you. But, if you have coachy, trainee, teacher in you, learning to facilitate is a challenge, and it is a discipline and an art form.
Yes. Well, in fact, I want to jump on that, because when we launched Creation Circles, by the way, Alexander Ford, Napoleon and I were just chilling at my place. So just an example that, and I want people to understand from a broad perspective that there is a, in terms of the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp, we teach 6 pillars. And the first 3 pillars are about getting the mastermind up and running. So there's perfect positioning, becoming the leader your tribe wants to follow, and fill your mastermind with ease. So that's that part, which is all well and fine. Depending on our skill set, launching the mastermind can be as easy as can be. You know, Robin, it was like, hey, I'm doing this, and ta-da, there's a bunch of people. Or it's a royal pain in the ass because we're actually more coaches and trainers and healers than we are marketers, of which in case those 3 become really important. But the other 3, which are commitment, facilitating skills, and creating compelling content, that's the piece where the teacher in us has to back off and be quiet. And it just reminds me of this story, is that when we started Creation Circles, I licensed a woman who, by the way, was brilliant and incredibly well connected. And there was, I think, 10 or 12 of them that started at the same time. Her mastermind was full the fastest. Like it may well have been the same damn day. Like that's how well connected she was. It was outstanding. It was like choir of angels, like, oh, and that mastermind 7 months later completely disintegrated. I actually had to step in and finish and to because it was gone. Like it was just dead. I stepped in and actually facilitated the last 5 months of her mastermind for one simple reason. She couldn't shut up and turn off the consultant's hat.
Yeah.
The very reason why people loved her was her wisdom and the consultant, but in that environment, she ground them to death, and they literally mutinied and said, if you come back, we're not. And I had to step in. So it's interesting how the balance of the first 3 pillars and the last 3 pillars have to come together, or it's a fiasco.
Yeah, you really have to check yourself and make sure that you're allowing everyone else within the mastermind to do the answering, do the responding. And then if there's one last thing to add that at the end, but always let everybody else go first. And that can be a real challenge because it could be the complete opposite of how you're used to showing up, and why you may think that people are in the group because they know you as a leader and how brilliant you are.
But on that note, Alexandra, it's always better when I'm the smartest and most powerful coach in the room and everyone has to listen only to me.
Tell us how you really feel, Alexander.
I think that's above earlier. It's like, I don't like most people, so masterminds don't work for me. It's okay. Most people don't like you, but those of us who love you, we really love you.
I wanted to add something to what both Robin and Virginia were saying. And just like Robin, I follow everything that you have laid out for us to the T. And I really think that it's that structure that truly makes the difference and what makes it a mastermind. The fact that it's timed, every aspect of it holds that structure in place. But where I personally like to go kind of above and beyond is setting the stage before we get started and breaking down those walls and making the differentiation of how people are used to showing up, all buttoned up and polished. And here's my elevator pitch, and here's everything that's great. And if you show up like that, we're not going to get anything done. Like, this is the place to get real, to get raw, to share what's not working, what's on your mind, what's driving you crazy you can't get through. And when you can really encourage people to show up with what is inside of them they haven't quite figured out yet. And then that's where the transformation happens. That's where everyone can jump in and is willing to help and bring solutions to the table. But if you don't break through that barrier and they're just like, well, I just want to, add a few more this or that, then it's shallow and we're back in kind of this traditional way of showing up. So to me, that's what's most important and what I love doing before anybody even starts.
Krista, I have to tell you something funny because I have a member, she's been with me almost the whole time. And 2 years ago, we had brand new members coming in and Amy had said, I shouldn't have said her name. Amy, I love you. She said, I'll be on the hot seat, right? And so she came to that very first meeting after our big commitment day. And on the hot seat topic, she shared something incredibly personal. And I literally broke into a sweat because there were like 4 new people in the room. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, oh my God, they're all going to just like run for the hills because it was really personal. And my group knows if something's going on in your business, there's something personal that's related. So that's why she felt free. But actually, after her extremely vulnerable share, all those new members were like, oh my God, this is the right place for me. And that was, it was such a relief, but I'm not kidding you. I literally like turned red. I could feel the perspiration on my lips. I'm like, oh God, hang on. But it is really amazing when that happens. So if anybody needs Amy in their new mastermind, let me know. I'm sure I can.
But,
you know, I also think that something so important about this whole thing is, and going back to what you said was hard, right, Jay? Mm-hmm. What's hard is that it looks so freaking easy. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, just get a bunch of people together and follow a fucking agenda. Who cares? Right. Like,
okay. So
it's not hard.
Just wait 1 second, because there's a question here that I don't know if you've seen that I want to actually, I'm going to switch there. We got a couple of questions. So what you're about to say, perhaps you could also include this. Why would somebody pay for a moderated discussion? Because I think you're heading in that direction. If we could address that at the same time, that would be awesome.
Yes. So here's the thing. If you're going to run a mastermind, it is the most powerful, most significant ontological transformation that you are ever going to have to do, because you have to create this incredible container and this amazing safe space for people to do what Krista is talking about. So why would someone pay for that? Where do you have a space like that in your life? That's why. Because there are few places in your life that you can go and have someone create a powerful container that can hold and weather all of your vulnerability, all of your fear, all of your disempowerment, all of your limitations, all of that, and take all of that and turn those pieces into foundations and building blocks and you know, shiny glitter of success, right? And when it's not a moderated discussion, this is a place where you where you help people dismantle their limitations, confront them, and turn them into something else. It's quite alchemical when you really look at what you're doing. And number one, to get the kind of people in a room, to just curate, imagine having 6 or 7 or 8 people where you can be raw and vulnerable and lose your crackers and have everybody say, we're going to build you up and not judge you for that. And I don't know, that to me is really the power. It's the power and the danger and the joy and the difficulty of all of it is who you have to be.
You hit the nail on the head, Jay.
Yeah, and just continuing along that theme, I appreciate all the raw, real vulnerable aspects of that. And I totally agree that's one of the biggest deals on the cathartic side. And then there's the upside. So to the question around a moderated discussion, I think 2 ways to think about this. One would be, if we think about the back to the 7th grade and the scientific formula, there was a process that was set up that yields great and reliable and awesome results. Or if we think about event planners, and those, we've all been to weddings that have been amazing and were structured really cool. And then we've been to those that are train wrecks. And the difference was the structure and the process that went into that. And so when you really nail the structure and process and help people realize that, hey, this is the best formula to get to all of this problem solving and have us most effectively help each other, what happens is amazing. And yes, there's the cathartic stuff, but then there's also amazing, brilliant business ideas and solutions that come out from people that say, hey, well, why are you doing it that way? What if we did this instead? And if your goal was really that, do this. And all of the, it's like when the highway opens up and all the traffic moves and the person's just flying and getting back at it.
And one doesn't happen without the other, and that's this magic trick that I think is so powerful and beautiful. And Doreena's comment here is really interesting. This has not been my experience, and this, by the way, Dorina, is sort of, I could get on my soapbox and I'll do my damnedest not to, but the way I often describe what are most masterminds that exist on planet Earth is that if you've ever seen the movie Duplicity. Which is, I think it's Michael Keaton, figures out how to clone himself. But his cloning process is a little bit like a Xerox machine, is that the copy isn't quite as sharp and as smart as the one before.
Copy of the copy's not so good.
Exactly. And what transpires in the movie, of course, then they end up with the the dumber of the dumbest of the dumber of the dumbest that is supposed to be fulfilling their roles while they're off doing other things. These are because all of the copies have this great idea that somebody else should do the hard work. Anyway, here's what has happened in the mastermind world. And please understand, there are some astounding and amazing masterminds. Every single person on this panel runs astounding and amazing masterminds. But there are also a whole bunch of other masterminds that started like this. Somebody pays for what is fundamentally a group coaching program with a little bit of mastermind, not much. And they paid $20,000 or $30,000 for it, at least in the digital marketing and entrepreneurship space. And those prices are all over the place. But they go to the first event and they sit down. It's like, holy crap. There's 30 people here that all paid $20,000. Oh, do the quick math. It's like, that's over $500,000. I'm going to launch a mastermind. So, because obviously I should, and it doesn't look that hard based on what Dingbat's doing. So they decide they're going to run a mastermind, and then they do this incredibly strategic thing, which is they copy their mentor's mastermind structure. It's like, oh, well, we're going to do 2 weekends, and we're going to have a little bit of buddy support, and we're going to do this and that. And it's all rolled out as a copy of what they experienced that has no relationship to actually the promise or the purpose of the mastermind. And honest to goodness, I can get a little snarky and harsh about this, but here's the honest to God truth is that on both sides of this, if you're going to run a mastermind, for crying out loud, you've got to do what we call PPSP. You got to get clear about what the promise is, what the purpose is, what the structure is, and what the price is. And please understand, price is the last damn thing you figure out. If I hear from one more person, it's like, hey, I'm going to run a $20,000 mastermind. What should I do? My answer to that is always just like, you should get a goddamn clue about the value you're going to provide to human beings before you start picking a price.
Right.
And they're like, ooh, what do you mean? It's like, well, don't be an asshole. You're asking for a lot of money. So what is the value? Don't ask me what I should do if you don't have the value proposition in your head before you made up your number. Anyway, now I'm getting carried away. I'll just slow it back, which is this.
Jay has feelings.
I have a lot of feelings about this topic. The honest to God truth is. So here's the thing. And I give you my word, if you structure it properly with the promise, the purpose, the structure to fulfill that promise 10 times over, and then you figure out the price, you will be on the right track, and we'll teach you exactly how to do that. Anyway, I'll stop getting carried away momentarily.
But that's, Jay, that all points to the fact, I think, one of the reasons that the financial services industry is so screwed up is because, Bernie Madoff, right? So things get diluted because people try to imitate the structure or the tactic, but they don't understand the theory or the ideology that exists underneath the waterline, and what all the stuff you don't see. They see the $600,000 and the result, but they don't actually see what's underneath the waterline. And I can say, I've paid a lot of money as well for masterminds, and sat in the room and thought, is anybody going to actually accomplish anything in this room? Like, it was so frustrating for me. And I invested in many, many of them before I came to Mastermind to Millions, and then invested in Lead. And when it was a big leap for me, a big belief for me to invest with you, because I'd had so many horrible experiences where the room wasn't well curated to that. But when I sit here on this panel and I look at who's here, and I'm like, I love doing life with these people. Like, they're smart, they're innovative, they have kryptonite, but they have superpowers, and their superpowers, they lend that. And when I need help, I can go to them because they're the right people in the right room for the right purpose. And that is a reason for people to do this. I'm so glad you brought this back. I've been lobbying you for it for quite a while, because I believe that if people can learn to do this well, we can reclaim the industry, right?
Yes.
Because it is a sugar show out there, and it isn't pretty, and it needs to be done properly. And you legit wrote the book.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think now is the perfect time. I think going into 2021, it's going to take, we can't do anything that we've done before. And it's going to take support. It's going to take creativity. It's going to take out of the box thinking. And it's going to take people that have got our backs, that are helping each one of us. And the more all of us that have this in us, facilitating groups and elevating those people, collectively, we can make a really, really big impact. And I just feel it's so, so needed going into this new year as we shake off the craziness that this one was, but knowing that it's not going to get that much better unless we super decide that it's going to get better. And the mastermind to me is the best way to not only look inward, but to take action and then get the support that's necessary to move forward.
I love it. Okay. And Jay, you already started actually alluding to this. And so my next question is, and I'd love to hear from as I have a standard answer, but I'd love to hear as broad a range as possible answers this, is what for you has been the most powerful or the most meaningful part of running masterminds? And this could be for you personally in terms of your evolution. This could be other clients, any or all of the above.
I'll throw two out, which is there were certain mastermind sessions where after the people in the mastermind left my office, I literally, went to tears and was like, what occurred today was beautiful. It was just poetic and amazing and powerful. And hosting it and facilitating and creating the container for those experiences was amazingly rewarding. And then I guess another one would be sitting around the group of people that I might have put together and being like, wow, like this is my tribe, and look at the way that we're showing up and serving each other. And there was a particular mastermind that I ran, actually it was my first one, that disbanded after like maybe year and a half's time. And one of the members came up and we were chatting months later, and he said, hey, I just want to say, like, I really miss the mastermind. He's like, it's a noteworthy thing that is empty in my life now to not have that group of guys to connect with every month.
Mm-hmm. That's a big deal.
I think for me, Jay, the most significant part is the becoming. Mm-hmm. That when you're so you're responsible for holding space, and sometimes the brilliance is blinding, right? Like the brilliance hits and you're like, whoa, that's like bigger than me. And so you have to like, you're like, I will now grow. I will hold this, right? And then sometimes, when the vulnerabilities get so great, or when someone in the group has a vulnerability that just absolutely reaches inside you and triggers whatever traumas you're bringing forward or whatever, but you have to be responsible for your own brilliance and for your own triggers and your own traumas while you're holding space for other people. Mm-hmm. And for me, and like we've known each other for 3 years, but like that has matured me up in a massive, massive way. And that really has come from facilitating the masterminds, dealing with people on their bad behavior, dealing with people who uncommit, getting people to recommit, building influence, all of that becoming, like legit. I think it has been one of the most transformative bits of work that I've ever done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ditto.
Yeah, I think I'm there with Virginia too, because it's like I've taught groups of musicians for years, right? My studio, we taught in groups. And so I'm used to working with people in groups. I love working with people in groups, but this is a different kind of people in groups experience. It's not music, right? So I shifted from what I had been doing from music to this. And somebody said something to me years ago, which was when I started teaching simply music, piano, you'll have to reinvent yourself. And I didn't know what that meant. And now I totally know what that means. But there's like Virginia was saying, there's a constant becoming, even being willing to trust my intuition, being willing to trust my knowing, and then creating a space in which I can share that with the group, and they honor me for that. And even allowing myself to be honored in a group for sharing what I know it's been a huge evolution for me. I think that's been really, really meaningful. And even what we were talking about earlier, learning how to just be quiet and not have to talk and not have to go first and not have to weigh in, and just learning how to listen to other people and not running it in that way. And then again, what Jay said in Virginia too about just creating breakthroughs, allowing a space where that's more like that, allowing a space where breakthroughs can happen, and feeling so absolutely moved and like humbled and honored to be present and a witness to the miracles. Honestly, I've seen remarkable things happen over the years, and there's just a sense of like, what an honor to be sitting here and witness that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I think I hit the wrong button there. There we go. We're back. Anyone else want to add to that? I would love to hear everybody's perspective. Krista, you sort of alluded to it earlier, but
what's the question? We're on topic before I.
What do you love? What do you love about it?
What's most meaningful? What's most powerful for you?
So one of the things that really stands out for me is that when you're a part of the group, it's really hard to see beyond like your own surroundings, and you know your business so well, and you see everything from your own perspective, and it gets really, really tight. And so one of the beauties of being a part of the mastermind is, first of all, just having to explain yourself and articulate your business, what you're up to, what your problem is. That in of itself is incredibly revealing on whether what's going on inside is being able to communicate outwardly. And then to have people who may be completely unrelated in a different industry, different business, different backgrounds, different experience, reflect back to you what they're receiving from what you're sharing is very, very powerful, very powerful. And that's one thing, the groups that I lead they're not all in the exact same industry. And that variety of background and the variety of type of professional, that means that they're different thinkers, different types of thinkers. And so the advice that's given just keeps opening the space and opening the space and opening the space. Of, I never saw it that way. I didn't think of it like that. And that expansiveness, there's so much value there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else on that topic? Okay. So Dorina is having, like, I'm going to put this up because I would love your perspective on this. And Dorina, just to be clear about this, you ask a question by typing it in here. There isn't a means or a mechanic to unmute you. So you've got to articulate it here. And where did it go? You had a, so Dorina says, I'm a bit confused. To me, a mastermind group is comprised of equals. The issue I'm having is, how do I charge for my coordination and then have the rest to participate for free? Now, I don't think that we're quite clear about this. So I want to be perfectly clear. I'm going to answer it from my perspective, and then I'd love yours as well. So here's my view of this, is that a mastermind, there are two fundamental pieces that need to transpire here. Number one, in a mastermind, you need to have enough of influence, authority, and expertise in a particular arena that people want to be with you in some way, shape, or form, because they believe that you are going to you're probably 2 steps ahead of the rest of the group, and you can serve and support, by the way, without it being just a pure coaching, training, all of those things. Is that you'll share and you'll light the way, but it is still a mastermind. A good example of that, Jeff Walker does a stunning job at Platinum Plus in terms of the product launch formula, is that he wrote the book on it, and he still guides and brings together people who are in the process of using the product launch formula to serve, support, and evolve each other in terms of their offers, their processes, and their businesses. That's that. That, by the way, is a $35,000 a year mastermind. Or you come up with a promise for the mastermind that generally has some form of access, that has some form of transformation, that you have the ability to facilitate, given the group of people that are there. So you highly select who those people are. Each of them brings their own network, wisdom, resources, and experiences. And you know that if you guide that with the structure and the promise, that you're going to be able to facilitate the freedom or the result or the experience that you have promised. So we go through a tremendous amount of work in terms of the design process, in terms of what we call perfect positioning. And that is the magic trick of getting that right, to have a promise and a positioning statement and the group of people that are willing to pay for that to match up. And honestly, when you understand it, when you get it, when you have guidance, it's not that difficult. And if you don't, it's kind of a fiasco on wheels for many people. It's the best way I can put it. And that would be why, to me, if you're interested in this and you're committed to this, you should seriously check out the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp. We will give you 10,000 different examples of it. You will build your own mastermind with another couple of hundred people through the process. And you will see it from 8,000 different ways that we've done in 8,000 different industries to answer that question. Would any of you add anything to that? Virginia, my dear?
So I just want to kind of address the confusion. The confusion is really justified because it sounds like you've never really been given the gift of seeing what a true, like Napoleon Hill, like a real mastermind where everyone contributes. They contribute financially for the person who curates it because you're the one that's giving time and organizing on the back. There's a crap ton of work on the back end, knowing who has to do what, making sure you're checking in with people. If you've got your hot seat pairs, are they doing what they need to do? Because if you as the facilitator aren't kind of curating the experiences between, like in the empty space between those meetings, it's a shit show. So there's all this work that you do, this support work that you do, and everyone contributes financially. Everyone contributes with their influence. Everyone contributes with their expertise. Everyone contributes with their support. So everyone in the room agrees to come in and contribute fully. There isn't like one person who pays and then everybody else gets something for nothing. It's you're getting compensated because you are literally, I think, taking personal responsibility for making sure that everyone is keeping their commitments to themselves and to others. And there's a guy named Doug Kirkpatrick who talks about self-led organizations. And when you create your mastermind and it runs like a self-led organization, that means everyone is holding everyone accountable to keep their commitments and be their highest and best self. And that starts with you as the leader. It is a tremendous responsibility that deserves to be compensated well, because when you do it right and when you follow the guidance and when you follow the process, the transformations that you get in short order are like, people start to experience breakthroughs in literally in minutes, and they stay because they want to keep that momentum rolling. So I think I agree with Jay. Anybody who's listening who's like confused and being like, that is not my experience, I would like take my entire experience, I would put it in a box, I would close the lid, and then I would do Jay's program. because no, Jay, I mean, seriously, I've done it, right? I mean, I've put the money down, I've invested in it, I've invested the money and the time, and so has everybody here. And it is in its purest form what it ought to be.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for that. And on that note, one of the things that I've put the link in here again, which is, I'll just put it in. How will I do that? I will copy and paste instead of typing, because typing is not my strongest suit. And this is the link. And what I wanted to do is this, is just let people know a little bit about this process. So just to be clear about this, the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp is a $2,000 course. And by the way, this is the first time we've actually done the live coaching with it in 2.5 years. It's the last time we actually ran a full-on bootcamp into the Mastermind to Millions Live, which I want to ask each of you questions about Mastermind to Millions Live as well. But we've been selling that for $19.97 for 2.5 years without any additional support, without any live calls, without any of those pieces. And what we have going on right now, that part and parcel of the reason for these Q&As, is that we have an entire process whereby people get the digital program. And here's what answers that question, Dorina, which is this. All 6 of the modules are necessary for this process. And in perfect position, we work on, how you're going to position yourself, so you gain clarity on your expertise and how you're going to present that so that people want to pay. And then how to position your group, who and what and where in the group are the levers that speak to the heart of what it is they want and need in their world. And then how is this going to work in your business model? Is this going to be a premium high-end program? Is this going to be like a $97 a month program? And by the way, you can do stunningly well at both ends of the spectrum. It depends upon your business model. And then we've got this whole piece, which I love that each of you had said one of the most meaningful parts of running the mastermind is who you're becoming. That is only true because you are all conscious enough to recognize your personal evolution. And I'll tell you straight up, launching masterminds, they fail to launch for only 2 reasons. There's a million reasons why, by the way, masterminds crash and burn, but there's only 2 reasons why they don't launch. And the reason number 1 is the promise, the topic, like what's going to happen in the mastermind isn't truly interesting or meaningful to the people that you're trying to get to say yes to it. Like there's a mismatch between the promise and the people who you think should take it. So if that doesn't work, we're a non-starter. But sometimes what happens is you get the promise and the positioning exactly right. And it's like, ooh, that's a great topic. And then they look at you and it's like, yeah, but you're not the person to lead me in that. You don't qualify. You don't have the war wounds. You don't have the scars. You don't have the experience. You don't have the authenticity. You don't have the integrity. You certainly don't have the results. So great topic, not you. But those are the only 2 reasons why masterminds don't launch. So we nail both of those right out of the gate. And then, of course, the third part is fill your mastermind with ease, which is this process of wine, conversations, and cash, which I'd love to pick each of your brains about a little bit. So we talk about a whole variety of ways to fill masterminds, but my favorite in the universe is run these little mini masterminds. And most of you, I think, got that. Most of you got the Fill Your Mastermind with Ease manual in terms of the launch. I think that's probably how you found out about this. But this, by the way, is my last sort of official question that I have, which is, what is your experience of, and what would you say to people considering trying to get their mastermind up and running about the wine, conversations, and cash process?
I love them. I did my first one. This is hilarious. I did my first one, Jay, and I walked in and I was the only chick and it was a bunch of guys and they all had on blue shirts and like ties and like a tie and a blazer. I was like, that is really weird that they all, like all these people, none of the women showed up, just the dudes showed up. And I was like sweating because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I was like, wait, I have a piece of paper that Jay gave me.
It's a 22-page manual. It's not a piece of paper.
Do what's on the paper. I should be able to carry this, right? So no, they were really high level people, like people that really gave me the willies like that because I felt really inferior, right? And really less than. And it really challenged me and how I saw myself. And we got there and we did the whole 3-hour thing. And they all said, man, I thought I was going to come and wonder if I could ever, like, if I would ever get those 3 hours back, right? Like, well, you know. But it went by and it was so valuable. And I started 3 years ago. And even to this day, they are still doing business with one another. And they're still they're still connected to one another. And many of them have done business with me. And so I actually use it. My mastermind clients actually fill that WCC. So they introduce the people to me and then I get to invite them to see if they qualify. And then I get to invite them to the WCC. So my network expands. I have a lot more influence and it's gotten just a lot easier over the years because people nominate other people. And once you get it started, so I've held, tomorrow night will be my 37th.
Wow.
My 37th consecutive WCC.
Wow. That is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I bow down.
Yeah, I love them.
So let me say one other thing, because again, sometimes the jargon gets in my way. And here's what a WCC is. It's Fill Your Mastermind with Ease, man. We teach the process in great depth and detail. And it is about, we use hyper targeting for groups that we believe may be a match for our mastermind or the rest of our business, or that we want to serve and support in some way, shape, or form. We bring them together. We run them through a mini mastermind process. And these things are so freaking valuable. And by the way, they are a no sale event. It's a little bit of a misnomer, wine, conversations, and cash, because we don't let anybody sell, including us. It's a relationship building process. But we call it cash because the worst one that I've ever done did over $60,000 in the following 60 days. That's the worst one. If I told you the best one, people wouldn't even believe it, so I don't talk about that one. So, but I've had this experience, which is, and I have them at my home, they're very strategic, is that at the end of the night, and there's no offer, any of those sorts of things, at the end of the night, I've had people standing at my door holding their credit card saying, it's like, I don't really know what we're selling or what you're selling or what's going to happen here. So, but whatever it is, I'm going to buy that. And it's like, well, there's nothing for sale tonight. If you want to talk about that, we can talk about it tomorrow, but not tonight. It's like, well, just take my card. It's like, no, I'm not taking your card. That's not how that goes. But honest to God, I have never done anything in my life where I've had that experience other than WCCs. Like that's how powerful they are. Anyone else want to add to that?
Jay, you bring up a really good point around it's a no sales zone. So I would say if you're worried about what that is going to look like for yourself or your network, get yourself out of the way. And remember, this has sort of really nothing to do with you actually launching your mastermind. It's this one event that you're holding. When the experience ends, the experience ends. And when done well, like Jay said, one of the things that I learned early on, once you have a WCC on the books, clear your schedule for the next day, because you're going to be emailing like mad, because people are going to be following up with you saying, hey, I want to talk about this. I'm excited, whatever it might be. And I got caught on my heels a couple of times around that. And then the other thing I would say is consider doing them in stages. So what I did on my invite is I would say, hey, I'm putting this together. Can you do either Friday or Saturday at these times? We're going to hold 2. And what it allowed me to do was invite a lot more people, because you're going to have an attrition rate. In my experience, it's been around 30% or so. But then it allows you to fill a mastermind in one weekend out of 2 of those, and it takes some of the burden off.
Nice.
Well put.
Robin, you can do them online.
I was just going to say.
You can do them online.
I do them online.
Yeah. When I first got started 5 years ago, I was working with people from around the world. And so the only way I could do them was online. And that was back in the day of Google Hangouts, which, if the words actually bring chills to me, because it was kind of a crazy nightmare thing. But I had people crying because they couldn't get on a call. It was a big deal, but it's all smoothed out since then. But you can be very strategic and do them very, very well online. That's how I've filled all of mine. I don't think I've done any in person. They've all been online, and I've probably I'm with Virginia. I'm actually more than that now. But my very first one, I had done 24 to fill it, because it was a new process, and I was learning how to do it, and then I was vetting again, and now it's quite easy for me. It's very enjoyable, and people are always so moved by the experience. Typically, that's what I get, like, that was amazing. How can I know more about this? So, don't be afraid. Don't start thinking, oh, well, how can you do it virtual? You can't have a connection. Yeah, you can, and your masterminds can be awesome virtually. You don't have to in person.
And I mean, I was watching some of my old videos. And it was at the beginning of Google Hangouts and all those sorts of things. And in the old videos, it was like, this is the beginning of the golden age of masterminds, because we can actually reach our tribes all over the world. And it was like, I was so excited about it. And the technology was still flaky, like just 5-6 years ago. It wasn't this, like, I mean, here we are from all over God's green earth on this thing for an hour, and it's been seamless and it's broadcast to the globe. Like that's a little bit of a magic trick, right? Like that's astounding. But the funny part about it is here we are, 5 plus or minus years later. It's like with COVID, it's like we really are at the golden age of masterminds. Like, because I mean, there isn't another choice for us in many ways to actually connect in an intimate, powerful manner if it isn't online. So I mean, that's a pretty stunning. That is a pretty stunning process, to put it mildly.
And Lana wants to know, are they a one-time event? So I think that depends on how you run them. The way I run them, my guests come one time, maybe 2 if I'm like, oh man, that person really needs to meet Scott, so I'm going to bring him back, right? Because there are people that I want to connect. But my purpose is to establish myself as a connector and say, hey, if you want to learn how to do this process the way I do it, then come join my mastermind, right? Which is my alchemy process. So that's that. But my clients in the mastermind, if they have a guest, get to come as much as they want. And so it is actually a benefit that I sell, and like a bonus that I sell, that if you're in my mastermind, you can attend any WCC that you want, anytime you want. You just have to register in advance. And here's the kicker, and keep your mouth shut. So that you can contribute, but you don't get to hot seat, because it's about the guests. I said, so this I'm not going to have you keep coming back and use, like, you've only got 3 hours. And if you're going to bring in 6 people that are already paying you, you're truncating your opportunity there. So I'm like, you can come and you can contribute and you can get to know these people, and then you can create relationship with them afterwards. So this is just an opportunity for you to be part and to be contributing to I'll go first, right? So they show up in support of the process, not because they want to talk about themselves or get a problem solved. They get to do that on the mastermind day. So that's been pretty powerful and pretty sexy, actually.
I love that adaptation and that tweak to it. My standard has always been this, is that I'm happy to have people back so they come in as initial time. It's like, wow, that was a sound. Could I come again? I will, generally speaking, try and match them with a tribe or a group of people that's going to show up that's really going to do something meaningful for them. But after that, then it's like, you know what, you need to make a decision if you're going to work with me, work with us, join a group, do something. And if you are, then that's how that's going to go, and that's how you get further support. And if you're not, we'll meet somewhere else. So I kind of have a 2 attendee make a decision line is how I've always done it in the past. Pat's asking how many people attend a WCC online, and I'm going to defer to Robin as the most experienced online WCC deliverer.
Well, and I don't know what you do, Virginia, but what I found, at least back in the day when I first started doing this, was people could stand about 2.5 hours online in that kind of concentrated thing. And so I had to really watch my time, and I ended up with the sweet spot was no more than 9 people, including me. And that gave everybody a chance to have a hot seat. And I allowed for, back in the day, I had to allow for Google Hangout disasters. And so I usually had about 20 minutes built in. Now I still put probably 15 just in case of things. But that's a pretty good number, 9 including you, because everybody shares including you. And you have to allow time for that to happen.
Yeah, and I'm generally kind of 8 to 12, and I've been doing mine online. Well, I've been doing mine online since COVID, because what are you going to do? I live in Illinois, so we're not even allowed to leave our houses here. So, but I found about 8 to 10. Again, my tribe is often there, so I might have 12, but only 8 people are going to share, right? And I do share. Usually about my philanthropy, right? Like, so when they say, what are you excited about creating in the world? I'm like, ending world poverty through entrepreneurship through this organization. So I'm actually sort of pitching my charity that I'm on the board for. But my clients are contributors, and they say, I would, but they don't actually present. So that's just, but yeah. So it's usually 8 or so, like you, other people, and then as many of my mastermind clients as want to come.
Love that. Jay, anything you want to add about WCCs?
Yeah, the other thing was going to be, give me one second, I just had the thought. Yes, going back to golden age of masterminds around all this. In my experience, the more you niche, the more you can charge for some of these things, and the easier it is to convert prospects to clients. I'm in a super small town of Sonoma of only 10,000 people. And when I was first launching, I was stubborn and just really wanted the experience to be in person. And I had some trepidations around, would online work, et cetera. Trying to find my niche in a town of 10,000 people and a mainly retiree type community was super hard and absolutely limited my ability to grow and sustain the mastermind. Now that we're able to go globally for that niche prospect, I would encourage folks to really take advantage of this opportunity, niche down even more if you can, and make it more specific, and don't freak out about not having the prospects, because the entire world's our oyster right now.
Ain't that the truth? So I said that was sort of our last piece. John has a good question here, though, which I want to take, not our last piece, but my last official question. But John, I just want to let you know that we will often do, and we teach in the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp, something that we call the tap on the shoulder strategy, which is if we're launching a mastermind, and this is something that happens to lots of folks, which is, it's like, great, I've got my positioning, I have my promise. And in terms of my, the folks that are in my phone that I reach out to, it's like, and I really want 8 to 12, but I have 4. like four. And generally speaking, when you do that, those 4 show up like boom, and it's like woohoo, and then it's like flat. Raise your hand if you've ever had that experience. Yes. Most people who launch masterminds have. So we teach something called the tap on the shoulder campaign, which is we equip the folks who have said yes early with a conversation and a tap on the shoulder that says, look, I'm in this exclusive group. We are about to get started. Each of us has the capacity to invite one person that we deem to either be our equal or somebody who is even stronger in this area than we are. And if you would be interested, I'd be happy to introduce you to the facilitator leader to see if there's a possible match. And that tap on the shoulder campaign, when executed well, quite frankly, is worth its weight in gold. But it has to be done really, really well. And I'll give you the red flag, and then the rest of the panel can answer from their perspective, is that if you don't do it well, what happens is they tap on the shoulder of somebody who is beneath the level of the group that you're building. So just think of it from this perspective. Most human beings refer down. And what I mean by that is that if you're a manager at a store and you're asked for a referral, that manager will often go to their assistant manager and say, hey, you should consider this because it would be really awesome, because they have some power and influence and significance there. They rarely go to the company owner and say, hey, you should do this. So we have to really help them with that process. Otherwise, you end up with people that aren't quite where you want them to be. Anyone else want to add to that perspective?
Are you just talking about the WCC, or are you talking about the mastermind in and of itself?
I believe he was talking about the mastermind in and of itself based on the question.
Got it.
Yeah, well, that just becomes awkward, right? I mean, if you get the wrong referral and somebody's super excited to talk to you and you're like, you're not the right fit, that's awkward. So before I send anybody to talk, what I've typically done is give me your list of who you think would be a great fit and why. Why will they up level the group? And let me make the determination if they're the right fit. If I need to scope them out and, stalk them on Facebook or whatever, I will, because I've had to have those really awkward conversations a couple of times where somebody has said, I want to be in your group. And it's like, yeah, you're not ready yet, but that's not really fun. So I will do anything to prevent, I don't want another one of those conversations, I guess.
And I also think it depends on the group, right? So the promise of my mastermind, this is really funny. So people are like, all right, so I pay you a bunch of money and you find me referrals. No?
Nope.
But then I was like, but then I was like, you know what? Yes. Because here's what I do. I go out on LinkedIn. I go out on everywhere. I fill my WCCs with total strangers who are totally excited to come and then be part of a group because they need connection and no one's reaching out, right? So the higher level you are, the lonelier it is, right? The more successful you are, the bigger the leader you are, the bigger the company that you keep, the more lonely you are. It is freaking lonely to be a leader, right? So when I'm working with people in that space, I'm like, all right, I'll invite them. Then when I invite them to join the mastermind, then they become referral partners. They become partners with the people in my mastermind, and I've done my job. So I think the answer to that question is yes, and sure, and yes. You've got to just understand your strategy and be able to utilize the strategy in a way that respects the process. It needs, like, I know from Jay's process at the WCC, it's 8 to 10 is a good number. I was at that one where like 30 people showed up in Arizona, like, and everybody was like, like trying to sit on the floor and find places to sit, and it went on forever. And it was, I remember that one. It was great fun. It's where Jay and I think met, right?
It ain't the only one, just to be perfectly clear.
Jay's like, which one is that weird one? But anyway.
No, I've had a few weird ones, to be perfectly clear. But so little sidebar to this is that we would always do a WCC at a live event. So it's like, hey, we're meeting people and all the rest. And it's like a bunch of people get on the plane going home Sunday night, and a bunch of people stay overnight and have nothing to do. It's like, well, why don't we have a meaningful conversation? So my buddy Joshua and I, and he and I actually launched Mastermind to Millions together. And so we'd always like, so who would be cool? Who would you like to have at it? So it's like, he'd come and say, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? It's like, they'd be fantastic. And so by the time we get to Sunday, it's like, so how many people do you think are coming? I was like, well, I don't know. I invited maybe 12 and I'm sure maybe like only half will come. And he's like, well, I invited maybe 15 and I think like half will come. And then it's like everybody,
people are in the room.
Exactly. Everybody we invited plus 3 of their friends show up. But anyway, that's a good problem to have.
And I think the point here is, there's the process and the spirit, and there's the leadership and all of that. And you have to figure out how does this keep your promise. So for me, yes, I do the vast majority of the work because that's the promise. Pay me 20 grand and I'll find you cool referral partners. Mm-hmm. So I do the work because when I have 10 people each paying me 20 grand, that's a lot of money and I can afford the time to go do the work. Mm-hmm. If I were doing something different and I were charging $3,000 for my mastermind, I might say like, yeah, you all need to do the shoulder tap thing because I'm not going to work that hard to make all that happen for that. Yeah. It just depends on where you sit.
All right. I want to shift gears, but Chris, do you want to add anything for WCCs? I know that you've sort of done yours a little bit differently in terms of launching yours, but thoughts about it?
I just think it's brilliant because the best way to know what a mastermind is to experience it. Like we can talk about it to death, but until you experience one, that's when you're going to get it. And because it's a personal invitation to attend for free for a cool evening, and you're positioning what it is and you gather those people together, it's just a brilliant way of inviting them, letting them have the experience and decide for themselves. And it takes that kind of hard sell out of this completely. They either align and fit and love it, or they don't, and we all know, and go on.
Yep.
On your merry way.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to play the video of our Mastermind to Millions live event. So, and by the way, gang, if any of this conversation is interesting to you about masterminds, and it's like, even if it's like, I'm not quite sure what it means, all those things, here's my direct request. Guard November 18th to 20th on your schedule and get your ass to Mastermind to Millions live, where we do a 3-day experiential training about how all of this works. And you will experience it. You will position a mastermind. You will practice that piece. You will learn all of these elements. But before I play the video, I would love one line from each of you about your Mastermind to Millions live experience.
Transformative.
Transformative?
Oh, you stole my word.
Yes, I'm done. No, it was awesome. It was so eye-opening. And so one of the biggest things that you've said, Jay, is that when we can learn to shift the container of how we think about things is when everything really changes. And so to have my mind opened in a whole completely new way to my business model and how I connected to everybody, and great people attract other great people. So the other people that were in that cohort and room, it was just, I'm still lifelong friends to this day.
Oh, very cool.
I find that in life, if you look at the span of your lifetime, there are these before and after moments in your life, right? Like life before this, life after that. And Mastermind to Millions was one of those moments for me. It is life before that event and life after that event. It was absolutely pivotal. Pivotal is my word. Pivotal.
Nice.
And Virginia, I want to, people have said exactly that theme since we brought Mastermind to Millions back and we've been having this conversation. I bet you I've heard that theme from 30 people, like including businesses that didn't exist, like Amon, like Success Road Academy.
Yeah,
and
Amon
Brady,
guy.
like they met at one of the first Mastermind to Millions live and built that business. Like, so yeah, you're not alone in that.
It's pivotal. Yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
What? Sorry.
I'm just kidding. But I mean, truthfully, and I've said this over and over again for years, that when Jay invited me to that WCC, and it was my first mastermind experience, and my experience, it changed the trajectory of my life. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, everything points to that moment and that night, and led me to Mastermind to Millions. And now you're stuck with me. So so happy.
Very joyfully, by the way. Very joyfully.
We're so glad for that.
I even coincidentally, because I use this as a reference, even with my teens, the book that Jay signed for me that day. So
that was back at Mastermind Millions Live.
It was the event right before that, and then you said, "Come to Mastermind Millions Live." All right,
Kristen Schiffer Thompson's, yes.
Yeah, and I'm making light of it, but I mean, it truly, truly opened a door for me that I didn't know existed. That was so aligned with who I am and how I like to show up and how I like to help and reach people. That it's just been a beautiful journey for me.
So cool, Miss Robin.
Yeah, I would say something along the lines that everybody else has. It's kind of opened up a whole new world for me. And it was just an easy world for me to step into. It was just the next thing that I was ready for at just the right time when I was ready to do it. So it was easy, it was fun, it was aligned, and it's been super meaningful. And having masterminds has also opened up other new doors for me, right? I've grown this big group of people that have come to Mastermind with me over the years, and now they come to big retreats with me every summer, and they bring their friends. And so it's just like this thing that has, well, I call myself a possibilitarian, and that's what it's opened up, the possibilities.
I love that. Yeah. All right, I'm going to play a video. Oh, Jay, yes?
Yeah, if I can make one quick plug for Mastermind Millions Live, and then launch your Mastermind 30 Days Bootcamp. So connecting Virginia's comment around, hey, showing value prop, 20 grand a person, 3 introductions, and Doreena's question earlier as to why one would pay for these types of things. So let's pretend I'm, my average client is 10 grand each. I'm going to evaluate Virginia's mastermind on, well, how many clients do I need to get out of her lead introduction before I'm ROI even, and everything else is candy after that. When I was thinking about whether or not to invest in Jay's programs and end up doing some of his higher level programs, the way I looked at it was, what do I get out of once I launch just one cycle of this mastermind? And that number probably more than pays for the ROI to begin, or the investment to begin with, and everything else is candy thereafter. And I've got the relationships and all of that. And so as you figure out your pricing for your masterminds, think about it the same way that you would invest in something like this. It's going to be around, what is the promise that you're making, and what is that worth it to a person? And one of the things that Jay's always taught is access. And so for some groups, it's just getting to be in this amazing group of people. Like if you did just bare level minimum facilitation, but put me in a room of other amazing, kick-ass, awesome other people and let us get out of our own way, amazing stuff's going to happen that's going to far outweigh the investment I made. And so I just want to throw out how to think about investing in these types of things, both the programs that you're running and then how to charge for those.
100%. And I say this going back to the beta launch process, is that every single person, if this is even remotely interesting to you, you should do the program and launch a beta, and you will be ROI positive. And then you can decide if you want to do this. And I will wager, if you have a clue and you have a heart and you have a tribe, then you will be just like these 4 brilliant human beings, which is like, that's a pretty rock star and beautiful way to contribute and to make my way in, or a part of how I make my way in the world. Like it just works out that way. I'm going to play this video. So and by the way, you guys have all been really awesome, and I've totally enjoyed hanging out with you. So if you this is the time, if you need to like run to the bathroom or something like that, you got like 3 minutes.
I love the fact that there was a huge variety of people here today, coaches, public speakers, all kinds of walks of life, and yet they were all able to detect the power that masterminds could give to them.
I think the power of a mastermind is really utilizing individuals, their wisdom, and their experience.
Meeting new, unbelievable people who are actually leading a tribe of movers and shakers.
Not only the caliber of the people in the room, but the hearts and the openness, the friendliness, the kindness.
The resources are here because Jay knows the right people, and he is the world expert in masterminds.
What I like about the way that Jay does masterminds is it's not sort of that traditional, you think you get a group of your friends together and you start just talking out ideas. He's got some really unique and creative things that he talks about.
Everything they said we were going to learn, we learned 10 times more, and he does talk fast, so bring your recorders.
You definitely don't want to step out the room because you don't know what you're going to miss.
The content is gold. It's just solid gold.
Every minute is crammed with how-tos and inspiration and motivation.
This is where you learn all the mechanics, the 1, the 2, and the 3. You learn the roadmap. You learn how to be a leader,
how to actually structure it, and the price points that I can actually charge to actually make a living out of this.
So being able to see someone who's run like 1.5 million masterminds is really cool, especially getting to asking questions around the specific situations. Like he knows everything. Like, it's amazing.
Jay is definitely the real deal. He just showered us with all his knowledge and all his brilliance for 3 days.
Jay is the most wonderful, authentic, kind, empathic leader I have met. He wants the best for us, and he really wants us to be financially successful so we can be out in the world and share what we know to other people.
He wants people who have a message to really take that message deeper, find a core community of people, and have a massive impact.
There's a lot of people that I've met here that barely even have a business and are walking away with, like, actually I know what my mastermind should be and who I'm going to target and where I'm going to find my people. And then people like me who have had a mastermind for a little while, I know that I know how to grow it and know how to scale.
We should have paid a lot more money than we did. Now I feel like it's possible. It's possible for me. Where I have to go, what I have to do to make my mastermind group up and running.
Getting to the grand vision that I want to accomplish is going to be able to happen by having learned the techniques and principles behind running an effective one.
There's a little bit of everything, and at the same time, it's all for one vision, to make sure that everybody here who comes to follow him becomes leader in their own ways, leader in their own community, and going to lead extraordinary lives while leading by example.
I recommend Mastermind the Millions to anyone who's trying to start and lead a group of people who are dedicated to making a change, making a difference.
Jay and his team are really good at helping us integrate and turn our passions into a profit that we can make a living at and love what we're doing.
You know what? I'm watching that and I'm just like, oh, I miss live events. I look down and I see Glory's comment. I so miss in-person events. And it's like, oh, me too. So in terms of my core questions, those really are the biggies. I had talked about the first 3 modules of the Launch Your Mastermind 9-day bootcamp about getting things up and running. The final 3 modules, which are commitment, getting commitment at the beginning, keeping commitment, then facilitating skills and creating compelling content. I'd love to know, and it's been interwoven throughout our entire conversation about the importance of facilitating, the importance of commitment. You know, what I'd love to sort of end with, which is, you know, a bookend of both, you know, the challenges of keeping a mastermind growing and going, and the beauty of keeping a mastermind going and growing. I'd love to hear some of your perspective about those 2 things, because it encompasses the last 3 elements of the boot camp so powerfully, because it isn't always easy to keep it going. It isn't always smooth, like some of the tough conversations you were talking about, Robin. So I'd love to perhaps, you know, just give some examples of, you know, what's the challenging part of keeping it going? What's the beautiful part of doing that work?
You know, Jay, the thing that has made a big difference for me is to get a year-long commitment from people. And so my really successful masterminds have been a full year. I'm in, I sign on the dotted line, and I let people know, because it's part of what I teach, but like any long-term commitment, anyone, you're going to love it. Some days you're going to not want to come, and other days you're just going to be like, okay, I'll show up even though my heart's not in it. And that's all normal. And so for me, when it's a whole year, and that usually doesn't happen for a while for them to not want to come, right? That's later on, that's halfway through or whatever. But I have enough of a relationship. We have enough accountability. We have formed a close enough bond that when somebody decides they want to go missing, the group holds that space. We hold them, we hold on to them. And so we are able then to work through, not like out of desperation, like, don't go. It's like, hey, we're in this together. We all count on each other to show up and hold the space and hold accountability and provide that environment. So to me, that's where the commitment, explaining it at the beginning, like, here's the road. And when it happens, just know that none of us are going to let you go. And so I don't even really see it happening anymore because people are prepared for it. And the minute it shows up, we're all like, hang on, let's gather around here. Let's have a little powwow. Let's find out what's going on with you. Let's normalize that experience, and let's keep moving forward together. So that's what I've noticed, is that with that 12-month container, you really get to work through those tough moments.
I love that.
I also think there's also this really interesting moment when you have to say to somebody, it sounds to me like this commitment's no longer for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to say, having your contracts ironclad about, however you're charging and whatever the responsibilities are and what their financial responsibilities are if they decide to shirk their commitments. I keep running back to Doug Kirkpatrick. The very first time I heard him speak, he said, people are inherently sloppy with their commitments, particularly the ones they make with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the purpose of and so, as Robin said, it's that upfront commitment. And I find that when I reiterate that commitment at the beginning and the end of every single session, so, congratulations, you are here because human beings are inherently blah, 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 blah. And you kept your commitment to yourself. That's a win. Pat on the back. You get you get a gold star for today, no matter what happens during this period. And so I do think there is that growth in ourselves, particularly, and I don't know if this is true for guys, but I know for women of a certain age, we've all been taught to be nice. And so when you have to particularly tell a stronger male, this is not for you, either buck up or step out, probably one of the hardest conversations I ever had. But then you do it and you're like, I am a beast. I'm an Amazon. Yeah. So, but really, really learning how to have those heartfelt conversations about you're not keeping your commitment to yourself. And I'm not up for that. That's not what we signed up for. We signed up because you want to keep the commitment to yourself. And when you let yourself down, you expect us to hold you up. And that conversation is probably, for me, one of the most rewarding and one of the most terrifying conversations you ever have to have. But you have to have it. And I think it happens in every mastermind. And here's the thing. I've been in a mastermind where that conversation didn't happen, and that got ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So
it grinds it down.
Yeah,
and shreds it up and spits it out.
It got ugly. Yeah.
I love the depth of that answer. Other thoughts?
I'll throw out that it's kind of like cooking in so much. If you're sauteing, you got to pay attention to what's going on and be in touch with it. Otherwise, you're going to burn it and mess it up. And you might have the steps to the rest. Here's what's beautiful about, actually, this will fall into the beautiful category. When you set up your process correctly and you know your recipe, it's easy. It all goes great, but you still have to pay attention. And so those indicators that everyone's talking about here, you're going to see showing up. And you need to address them. There's this awesome part of being a facilitator where you do realize that you've created this awesome process. You're like, oh my God, this was so much work and it's working now and this is great. And I can finally take my foot off the gas and just sit back and admire what I've created. And then all of a sudden you start to watch this little lull in the group kick in, and then someone starts to talk about the same thing all the time. And so we all fall into our own habits. And so it's easy for these archetypes in a group to show up. There's like the whiner, and then there's the overcommitter, and then on and on that start to take these roles. And you almost have to like step in and like break up the monotony and shake people a bit and change things. And if you think about, if we've ever been to any of those types of associations or meetings where it's like, oh my God, I've got to show up to the thing again. When the group takes on that energy, you're in trouble on renewals and lots of other things. And so the other thing I would say is figure out how to make it fresh from time to time, shake things up a little bit. And although you might have, let's say, a monthly meeting as your standing thing, at some points in time, don't be afraid to reach out individually to people and do that little bit of extra work to keep the plate spinning and do those check-ins. It'll save you so many headaches down the road and just increase the renewal rate to your group.
Mm-hmm. Well put. Krista, my dear, thoughts?
I think
You're all
everything
good?
said really
Okay.
eloquently. Yes.
I think, and in our masterclass of 3 massive mistakes that coaches and experts make, I talk about this truth that I think you've all said this in some way, shape, or form, but I want to articulate it in my words, is that if you're really going to run a great mastermind, you're actually in the dips and turns business. And what I mean by that is that all of us in every aspect of our life have these ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And the honest to God truth is it's impossible for that to be going on in our business, with our health, with our relationships, with our parenting, with our teenagers, with our, whatever it is that we're dealing with. And for it to not show up in the mastermind. And if we don't, as Robin said, normalize the truth of that, and really, I say this to people all the time, is that if you're leading mastermind, you're actually in the managing the dips and turns of somebody's life. Is that we help them in that context understand. So what were the triggers that actually started the dip? Where did I get off track? Now I'll speak for myself personally. Where did I get off track with my working out? Because that is always the precursor to a little bit of a shit show happening. So what are the precursors for the dip? And then when the turn happens, like, what does it actually take to manage a turn? How do we actually create a turn? And instead of it being this long span, is that in the context of these conversations, in the context of the truth that we can tell, we actually, it starts with this big thing. And then actually we start getting pretty good. It's like, oh, there's that thing that triggers the dip. I'm going to call in some support. I'm going to talk to my mastermind leader. I'm going to talk to one of my buddies that helped me out the last time. Or we see somebody who's in a dip and it's like, look, buddy, how do we help you turn? Does that mean we're going to go running in the mornings together? What does that actually mean? And if we begin to say, yes, I might have a digital marketing strategy mastermind, but we understand that the digital marketing is just the mechanic that we talk about. We're actually really in the business of human evolution and helping each individual human manage their dips and turns. That, my friends, is where we have transcended the game, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay, one thing I want to call out is you've got to be your own promoter and cheerleader. And so when you do have those really amazing gatherings that blew people's minds, or someone has a major breakthrough, take the time to call out what's gone on and be like, hey, remember however many months ago when we were all here and now look what's going on, or this was, the most wonderful gathering. I can't believe we helped so-and-so, because people kind of take that stuff for granted. And I think going back to Virginia's point around, how we're wired as human beings, we tend to gravitate more towards the critical and less towards the celebrational about some of these things at times, especially once we've invested. And so just make it a part of all of your gatherings to call out the good that's going on.
I love that. You know who was really great about that was Jeanette Anderson. She led some masterminds for us, and she was always phenomenal at, so let's celebrate what's worked for the good of the group. And I have always admired, because I think I'm bad for just taking it for granted. It's like, of course we do magic. That's what we do here. But she was exceptional at it.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else on that note or topic? Okay. So the last thing I want to do actually is I want to just make sure that people understand that if they attend the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp, that they get a ton of wicked bonuses. So I want to share that screen. As I go through it, if any of you have anything you want to add about any of those bonuses, or any last words about if somebody's going like, should I run a mastermind? The answer is yes. But should I run a mastermind? Anything that you think about that process and want to share, I would absolutely love and appreciate. So I'm going to just share this screen. We'll get this back. So the other modules we've already talked about, creating high-level commitment. Here's the truth of the matter, is that if you're going to truly create magic on any sort of consistent level, you've got to have commitment, and you've got to be able to reset commitment, and you've got to be able to do that on a consistent, regular basis. We teach 9 specific strategies that are frankly rock star. The next, of course, is this idea of powerful facilitator skills. You've heard every single person here talk about the difference between facilitating, moderating, training, educating, and the magic trick here is facilitating, to be the leader of the group and to be with the group at the same time, to see and understand the natural resistance that elicits, and have a entire facilitator trick bag to deal with that in a meaningful and powerful manner that moves us forward in terms of our promise. And of course, then creating compelling content. And I hear this from people all the time. It's like, I don't think I have enough content. Here's the honest to goodness truth. Every single one of you has too much content. Even if you don't think you have any, you have too much. Because the reality is what you're up to is creating the container for those other 8 to 12 people to share their network wisdom, resources, and experience. You have a multitude of content. You just need to figure out the environment to make that work. So that entire process, just to be clear about this, again, we sell it just digital for $19.97. And in the last 2.5 years, I bet you we've sold 50 of those things without trying. People just phone us like, hey, if we hear you're the person who knows how to do this. And they don't get anything else for the $2,000. But with what we're working on today and this exceptional process is that we have a whole bunch more. So you get, number one, the modules. I am actually going to do 7 live coaching calls. What that means is you do the module, you work with it for a week, you come to a call with me where I will answer every question in the universe. I will show you how to do it. I will connect the dots. You will go away and continue to work on that module for another 7 days. And then you're going to do the next module. And then I'm going to coach you again. So I want you to be clear about this. People on this call have paid me between $15,000 and $25,000 to spend 1 day with me. That's the regular rate. That's how that goes. And you actually get me for 7 hours included in $19.97 for the digital boot camp. So frankly, even if you just want access to my freaking brain and my experience in this domain, it'd be worth it just for that. On top of that, you get what we call our mastermind community. And this is a place where you can post questions, and I will answer questions. Krista will answer questions. Robin will answer questions. She's going to be leading a bunch of our post Mastermind to Millions live courses and events. So pretty cool and awesome. So you get additional support in that process. There's a whole bunch of testimonies. You can read those things on your own. I just want you to understand what is involved. And again, so you get all of that for the $19.97. You can even split it up into payments if you want. But this is where it gets sexy. It also includes 2 tickets to attend Mastermind to Millions Live. So that video that we just showed you. So just to be clear, a regular ticket is $197. A VIP ticket is $397. And you get 2 regular tickets. Now, when I say that those are the tickets, those are the early bird prices. We have sold them for $997. They are worth way more than $997. In fact, in that video, the gentleman that was saying, it's like, oh, we should have paid a lot more than that. Paid $997 for this. So it is exceptionally powerful. Now, here's where this gets incredibly fun as well. You get a one-on-one perfect positioning call with a mastermind mentor. What that means is somebody will be on the phone with you, making sure that you have your promise and who cares about that promise lined up so that you can have the languaging around it. Then we have this thing called a filtering script. Well, I'll talk about the filtering script, and then Virginia, I'd love for you to share your experience with that. The filtering script is frankly 2 pieces of paper. It is a script that teaches you how to communicate about who you are, what the promise of the group is, who the group might be for, or who the group might not be for. And we will actually, again, one-on-one coaching, help you get that nailed down. Now, before I say any more about that, Virginia, you just have to tell the quick story of being at, I think we were at Steve Olsher's
New Media Summit.
Yes.
New Media Summit. Yeah. So do you want the whole story or just the story about the filtering script?
Whatever the short, funny version is, you go to town.
Okay, so I'm at New Media Summit, and I'm at the back of the room, and I see this good-looking guy at the back of the room. So being the consummate flirt that I am, I walk up to him, and I'm like, hey, good-looking, who are you? And he says, why, I'm Jay Facette, my dear. And I was like, oh, my God, hey, I totally hack all your emails. And he says, imagine what we could do together if you allowed me to coach and mentor you. Excuse me, I'm on.
That's awesome.
So I was like, I literally turned to my friend Jenny and I go, oh my God, did that just happen? And she's like, you are an idiot. I was like, well, okay. So then you got up and you did your presentation, and I won't name the person who was before your presentation. It was totally unprepared, like not in a good way. And I was very disappointed at that. And then you got up and it was so good and it was so polished. It was so on. And then you were like, and I have this filtering script. and you use it to fill your masterminds, and it's very simple, and here's what you say, and here's what you do. And so I felt like I owed you. I was like, oh my God, I did like the big stupidest thing. I've got my foot in my mouth. I need to go like do something with this piece of content, right? So in my system, in my world, like there are people who give you knowledge, people who share their resources, and then people who help you build business. And I was like, all right, well, he's good looking. He completely generously like gave me this big smackdown that actually felt kind of adorable. And somehow or another I ended up with your cell phone number in my phone. And I have no idea how I got your number. Like can
I think you asked, and I gave it to you.
Can I get your number? Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I insulted the guy. He put me in my place, and I have his phone number. This is great. So I brought the script home, and I just filled it out. And I was like, look, I'm the referral diva. I have connections. This sounds like fun. What the hell? I have an idea. So I run the idea by a bunch of people. I say, listen, most of these masterminds, I think, are like between $15,000 and $25,000. So $49.97. And they were like, yeah, that sounds good. So what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to make money together. He's like, well, how are we going to do that? I don't know, but you give me $5,000 and I'll figure it out. And so 4 people gave me $49.97, and 1 person paid me 50% down and 50% later. So I had $22,500 in the bank, and I call up Jay and I'm like, hi, you probably don't remember me. And he's like, oh, I remember you. All right. And then, truth be told, it was just hilarious. We found out much later that we actually did know each other because we were at a mastermind event together and sat on a couch and had a very personal conversation. But
like
thought we
3
were
years prior to that.
3 years prior, but thought we were talking to somebody else. Like each of us had no idea that it was each other. But anyway, so I called him up and I was like, hey, I put it on your Facebook page, right? I was like, hey, Jay, I just made $22,500. Now what? And he was like, now you give me that and I tell you what to do. And I was like, okay. So, we did a VIP day, and then I did Mastermind the Millions, and then it's kind of history from there. But yeah, I just, I think it was really the combination of the filtering script works, number one, and then having the influence with enough people to say, this thing looks really hot and it's something I'd really like to try. And I have to charge you something for it. What do you think? What do you think you would do? They go for this, whatever. And and so that mastermind ended with those folks, and I started a new one. But it was the filtering script. It was great. It was just one of those things. And then I have to tell you, this is a really funny thing. So now people are like, "Can I give you my freebie and you'll give me a good story?" I'm like, now I'm like, yeah, if you pay me $25,000 and I'll use your freebie and get you.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so,
to this day, I still love that story. But here's the point to this. And well,
tell Jay he's handsome and you'll make some money.
Well, that's what happened with Jay Rook and I, just so you know.
That's it, JJ and LeBron. Our album is set to be released in Q1 2021.
Buying a van.
It's called COVID Shit Show.
So here's my point to this. You may have a different point, but my point to this is that that filtering script is one bit of key content in what is actually really 2 complete programs. Like the first 3 modules are a complete program, get your mastermind up and running. The second 3 modules are a complete program, but there are elements of that program that if you would just apply them are 6- and 7-figure contributions. Mm-hmm. The filtering script is one of them. The WCC process is one of them. The beta mastermind is one of them. All of those. And I got to put this way because I was speaking for Ryan Levesque. Actually, Krista, you, me, and Tony were in Austin. Was it Austin?
Austin, yeah.
Austin. And I was speaking on Ryan Levesque's stage, and I really, he's one of those data folks. So I wanted to do a whole bunch of research about the state of entrepreneurship. And I found some of the best research on planet Earth about the state of small business in North America. Mm-hmm. And here's the honest to goodness truth. 62% of small businesses never break $100,000 in annual sales. That's 2/3 of the businesses.
They should be coaching with me. Sorry.
Frankly, they should be coaching with any one of us on this call, and they freaking do better than that. But the point for me is that if you were to just take the filtering script and work it, you'd make more than $100,000. Yeah. If you just took WCCs and did it, you'd make more than $100,000. If you did one beta program with a decent freaking conversion, you'd make more than $100,000. And there are people struggling, screwing around, chasing their tails, doing stupid shit and buying inappropriate programs that just make me sad. Like, effing sad. I don't know how else to put that. Anyway, so here's my point to this and why I really wanted you to tell that story. And I appreciate the humor and the entertainment. And I still remember you, by the way, in your red hat. You were looking totally adorable. And it was like, that was funny.
I've never had such a pleasant smackdown in my entire life. It was just awesome.
I don't think that was a smackdown. That was an invitation. It was like, you should come do some work with me.
Well, that's why it was just so adorable, because I felt like such a jerk after it came out of my mouth.
All good, my dear. We've been friends ever since.
We have been.
So here's the thing. Bonus number 4, you put all of that stuff together, the script, all those pieces, I will personally review it. I will read it with my own eyes. This does not go to anyone on my team, any of those pieces. I will look at it and I will give it my stamp of approval, or I will say to you, you should tweak a couple of these things, or I will send it back to you saying, what the hell is this? You're going to go hungry in the mastermind world. But you will get my eyeballs on it. And then you get the Mastermind Marketing Mastery Training. Joshua, my business partner who helped create this, one of the smartest marketing human beings on planet Earth, developed this program. It is exceptional. Then you get the day before Mastermind to Millions Live, a real live mastermind with me and my team. And we will be there for 2 hours. It runs from 4 till 6 on November 17th. We will give you a living, breathing example of it. And then here's the kicker. Get your mastermind up and running. I have a large community in the joint venture space, in the entrepreneur space, in the mastermind space. When it is up and running, we will share your mastermind with our tribe. Now, we have no idea what to value that at, so we make up a number of $39.97. But let's be clear, for crying out loud, if you got one member from our tribe who participated, you should be making 3 to 5 times that, but we'll just call it $4,000. So what that boils down to, just so we're all on the same page, is that if you add all of those pieces up,
your numbers are funny there.
Yeah, you got to make this thing bigger. It's $14,967.
Like $1.70. That's hot.
What?
Yeah, you should buy 2. If it's $1.70, you should totally get 2.
Buy one and get one for a friend.
Exactly. So you can get all of those pieces for $19.97, or you can split it up into payments that make your life easier, and hell, even do the beta program to get it up and running so you can pay for it if that is one of the challenges, because I do understand that can be difficult. And that, my friends, is the fundamental offer. The first call, the live call in terms of coaching, actually happens on November the 11th. And then we're every 2 weeks. And the entire idea is for you to get your mastermind up and running for, let me get this out of the way, get your mastermind up and running for the beginning of 2021. And honest to God, gang, there is an inordinate number of people that desperately need your leadership. They need you to create the space for them to face themselves. They need you to help them heal from the shit show that they have faced in 2020, and they need to recreate their lives. And this is one of the most powerful, intimate, meaningful, profitable, and value-creating mechanics that I know in the whole world. It is the thing that I love the most. So if that resonates with you, for the love of all things good, click the button and come join us. If it isn't for you, for the love of all things good in the world, find something that is and put your heart, mind, and soul behind it. But I tell you what, if you're on the edge, should I or shouldn't I, then here's what you do. You get your ass to Mastermind to Millions Live. You pay your $397 for VIP or $197 for the regular, and then let us demonstrate and give you an experience of what it is. And then we'll charge you more for the mastermind after that. I'll always tell you the truth, because this price doesn't exist when that happens. So I just want to be perfectly straight with you. On that note, gang, you have been marvelous. We booked 2 hours, but 90 minutes. I've just really enjoyed the conversation with you all.
We should start a mastermind.
Hey, I'm in.
That could be fun. That could be totally fun. Any last thoughts about anyone sitting on the fence and what role that boot camp and the foundational training played for each of you? I would love to end on that note.
It was huge for me. I literally launched my mastermind in 90 days. So I had not been in the online world. I'd had a brick and mortar for years. It wasn't anything. I don't even know how you ended up in my inbox. I seriously, to this day, do not know how it showed up in my inbox, but it did. And I remember thinking $2,000, like, wow, that's a lot of money. But I just knew it was something, when you just know, you're just like, oh, this is it. I'm doing this thing. There was not even really a conversation with my husband, not much of one. Who was like, I'm doing this thing. And, it was remarkable. I stayed on top of it. I did everything you said. And then there I was launching my mastermind. So Jay, you provide so much detailed content. Like you've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. You've refined it, I know, but it's complete. And when you match it up with Mastermind to Millions, oh my gosh, like it's a great opportunity.
Well, yeah. And I don't think I told this story, and I appreciate you saying about the details there. The reason the program is as good as it is that this was actually an internal training program that we taught our facilitators, trainers, and coaches for 25 years, a quarter century before we ever made it public. Yeah. And all we did is we took our internal training program that we had refined quite literally for decades, and we added some marketing support to it to help people actually get it out into the world. Mm-hmm. And the honest God truth is I genuinely don't know anyone else on planet Earth that has had their finger involved in launching as many masterminds as I have. And so we have this both beautiful and weird depth of experience that helps with that.
Here's what I have to say. We're coming up on the holidays, right? And I would say that anyone who's watching this, an extra $6,000 to $8,000 right around the holidays would not hurt your family, right? So here's the thing. If you're willing to use the filtering script, find 5 people to give you $19.97 to do even a 6-month beta. I mean, who cares how long it takes you? You're not doing it anyway. So get paid to learn, right? That's the best way to do it. Go to Mastermind to Millions because you really, really need to know what to do once you sell it. So, but if you think about it, 1997, literally between now and November 11th or November 19th, right? In 2 weeks, you could legit find 5 people who wanted to accomplish and would love to do that in community and walk into it with a 5X already on the books before you walked into it. What I did is not unique. It's not anomalous. All it requires is a list of 20 people and the willingness to pick this up and dial on it. That's it. Because the script you have everything you need, right? And yes, the WCCs are great, but every single one of us has 5 people that would give us $2,000 to do a cool thing. We do.
Yeah,
and
true.
there's no excuse for not doing it except you don't want $6,000 to $8,000 before the holidays.
Said everyone.
Which is totally cool. I don't need no money.
Nicely put, my dear.
Yeah.
I'd say this. Excuse me, this is either making sense to you or it's not. You either have interest in this or you don't. And if you're in that affirmative category, this is just a no-brainer to me. On Virginia's one hand of the upside, there's that element. The facilitator training component will transform you even if you never become a mastermind facilitator and run things. And that alone for me would be worth the money out of this and the way that you'll grow in that. It's like once you've had it's like real maple syrup compared to fake maple syrup, it's game changing and you can totally notice it everywhere you go thereafter. And so for that reason alone, I would say do this. But if it makes sense to you or you're interested in this, there's just no way you can't get this wrong.
Cool.
It's all in the program. It's all in the boot camp. Yeah. Step by step by step. Follow it. Add your flair and follow it.
I have to interrupt for a brief moment because I was playing Robin, your testimonial from years ago in the last masterclass, and it was like, you might be tempted to try and do it on your own, and I wouldn't do that. I'd just follow what Jay says, and every time you say it, I'm like,
I know, Jay, I want to do 3. I want to do 3 different masterminds. Do one, my dear. Jay, but I need to do 3. Do one, my dear. I tried 2 and it didn't work. I'm like, okay, I'll do 1 now. But it took some time. Yeah.
And your 1 was up and running in like 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Like once we got very clear about what the focus was. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, Chris. It made me laugh big, but it was like, it's exactly, I was like, just
do what he said.
Yeah, nobody ever does, but I appreciate the thought.
You know, the thing is, Jay, that the challenge that you have is you work with entrepreneurs, right? And we love recreating we all have better ideas, right? But here's the one thing. Look, this whole like experience that I've had with BNI, right? 35 years, proven. Ivan has done everything. He has drawers full of all the stuff that doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. This program is one of the very few programs in the industry that has withstood the test of time, that over and over and over 25 years of proof and refinement, and we don't do it because it don't work. Like, just buy it, do it, make money, buy presents. It's a no-brainer.
All right. And we're 21 seconds over our 2-hour time. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, it has been an honor and a privilege to hang out with all of you. I know on the East Coast it's quite a bit later than it is here Mountain Time. So I appreciate all of you staying up late. And before we go, I'm just going to check. Damn, those last seats, they are like not moving very fast. I just wanted to check results because Jay Rook promised either he was going to have a drink or he might slit his wrist depending upon the outcome. And I just thought that we should hold him to it, but apparently we cannot.
Nice.
So on a just genuine heartfelt note, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for being like shining examples of doing the work and not over a span of weeks in every single circumstance. Like, you are people that have been doing this for 5 years, for 3 years, and putting your heart and soul on the line, not just for you and your family, but for your tribe and for your communities. And that to me is what makes all of this worthwhile. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I appreciate your transparency of both the good, the bad, and the otherwise with Masterminds. And gang, if you're sitting at home wondering if you should, the answer to that question is simply look at the caliber, the quality, the brilliance, and the grounding of these 4 incredible human beings. That's what we stand for. That's who we are. And that's who we serve. So come play with us. Thank you, gang.